for Nolan Xavier Wells. 18 years old, gone too soon. Mississippi, y'all got some explaining to do. Mississippi, need to release that report. Low down, dirty ass Mississippi. What you hiding? Why you not talking? Why the hell you not saying a damn thing? Talk. I pray the family get real answers. And no, we the people won't go away. Never, hell no, not today. Mississippi, the Most High gonna really deal with you. July 4th lights, boat ride with the crew. Young King Nolan chasing dreams, Ocean Springs through and through. Horn Island called his name, he relaxing in the blue. 2 days later found on the sand. What happened to you? Independent autopsy dropped, but it's undetermined. Red mark on the back of the head, neck structures missing. Absurd. State sitting quiet, toxicology on the shelf. Family screaming for truth, but y'all protecting yourself. Nolan was a star athlete with a future bright. Now his mama crying every single night. Golden trip turned nightmare. Questions in the air. Who was on that island? Why the silence there? Mississippi, need to release that report. Low down, dirty ass Mississippi. What you hide? Why you not talking? Why the hell you not saying a damn thing? Talk. I pray the family get real answers. And no, we the people won't go away. Never, hell no, not today. Mississippi, the Most High gonna really deal with you. Grand jury waiting, but the people still fighting. No severe trauma, they say, but the story don't add up clean. Ways whispering secrets, covering up the scheme. Young black man gone, another one in the South. History repeating, time to open your mouth. What you hiding in them files? Why the delay? Transparency dying, why the family pray? Nolan's light was shining, future snatched away. Now the whole world watching what Mississippi say. We marching, we posting, we demanding justice loud for every mother losing sons behind that murky cloud.
I pray the family get real answers.
No more games, no more lies.
No more games, no more lies.
Nolan deserved better, the truth never dies. From the island to the courtroom, we standing tall. Mississippi,
Your reckoning,
gon' come.
one and all.
Finding all. Mississippi, need to release that report. Release it now, release it now, release it now. Need to release that report. Mississippi, what you hiding? Why you not talking? Why the hell you not saying a damn thing? I pray the family get real answers. No, we the people won't go away. Never, hell no, not today, not today. Mississippi, Most High gonna really deal with you. For Nolan Wells, we won't go away. Release the report. Justice now.
Right. Hello, everyone. Grand Rising. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your morning wake-up call. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Okay, so that all being said, let's get ready to get back into it. Hello, Juju, Love Christy, Hadassah. All right, let's get it popping, Pearly. I see you, beloved. Christopher is here. Mel, Bronze Flat Power God. Azo Catano is here. Leon, all right. Okay, 57 Beige Fox, Love Christy. Let's get into it. Bronze Flat Power God, and it's a G. Everybody hit that like button. Willie Mills, okay. Andrea Ladybug, all right. Buckhorse DC, Desmond. Shout out to all of my loyal royals, everyone tuned into the Queen, and a big shout out to my moderators, because y'all know they be putting in work. Okay, so let's get it started. First off, let's have a brief word from my sponsor at 12 Tribes. Lights up, everyone, please like and share.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
Okay, so with that all been said, don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribes hair oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Kratz. And you can also find her products at Walmart.com. And don't forget that she sells beard oil. Okay, so listen, I was speaking to you all yesterday. As you all can see, I had to go change my thumbnail. I had to change my thumbnail. That's why I was a few minutes late, because as I was sitting here getting prepared for this broadcast, I had an epiphany. Okay, I had an epiphany. So I had to go and change that thumbnail real quick. Okay, because here's the thing. Hold on, beloveds. I remembered something. Hold on, I'm sending something to my email real quick. Okay. Now we're going to get into this. We're going to get into it. Hold on, beloveds. I'm pulling up these receipts. Now, the first thing I want to make mention of is the fact that TMZ, what are they up to? Okay, what are they up to? Now, notice how I told you all yesterday that conveniently after that audio is released, all of a sudden, out of the woodwork, we now supposedly have two witnesses who claim to have seen Nolan on Horn Island after the boat left. Now, what's interesting to me is, how come nobody said anything before? Okay, we're 3 weeks in. Okay, we're 3 weeks in, and just like Secret Service Sam said, you know, he said TMZ is 3 weeks late. Okay. Now all of a sudden here they come with the shenanigans. And I find it very interesting because y'all mean to tell me y'all have witnesses that saw him on the island after his frenemies left? Yeah, I don't believe it at all. I don't believe it at all. But here's the thing. Now I got an email. Hold on. I got an email this morning. Hold on. Oh, Lord, here it is. Okay. The Messy Channel Show TV. Shout out to you, beloved. Okay, and just so you all know, that's the same person who taught me how to do these AI generated thumbnails. Okay, but so anyway, the Messy Channel Show sent me an email this morning and put something in my head, because I mentioned this to you all before. So they basically said that they believe that they stopped his ambitions because he was playing football, of course, right? And who else plays football amongst them? Bart. So I said, Messy TV channel, you're onto something. Because if you all remember, about 3 weeks ago, I brought up to you all, I said, what if this was a football competition? What if this was about football? Do you all remember that? Put a 1 in the chat if you all remember me having that conversation on the live. I said, now what if this is about football and someone was jealous about that? Because I told you how in those little small towns, you know, these people, specifically people that think they're privileged and think they're better than everyone else, and they have these parents with all the connections, they think they're supposed to be the standout. They're supposed to be the popular one. Okay, nobody's supposed to outshine them, least of all a Black man. Okay, so you all are putting 1. So you clearly remember we had that conversation about 3 weeks ago, like shortly after this all happened. So now that messy TV channel has brought that back to my attention, I was like, wait a minute. That's exactly what I believe it is. So here's the thing. And just remember you heard it here first. Okay, because y'all know Nancy Drew, okay, aka Wig 2, loves to steal the Queen's receipts. Now let's go to something that we on yesterday. You know what? Matter of fact, we're not going to go to that yet. The first thing that I want to go to is TMZ. Because now they're trying to act like his frenemies, that is. Now all of Nolan's fake friends are trying to act as though he was just so drunk. Okay? Now they don't come out and say specifically that he was drunk, but they say that he was drinking heavily. So when you're drinking heavily, what happens? You get drunk. Okay, when you're drinking heavily, you get drunk. So let's talk about it. Nolan Wells witnesses claim he was drinking heavily before death. This is out from TMZ. Okay, this is just out from TMZ this morning, 5:57 a.m. TMZ is upstarting the BS. Now, first of all, they come out here yesterday talking about two witnesses. I wonder who is paying them, because somebody has to be paying them very nicely, okay, to be doing the shenanigans. So anyway, and mind you, they're the ones that released the audio. Okay, with the background talking. But remember, they clipped the first part when they were speaking before the dispatcher answered the call. Okay, they absolutely did that for a reason. And also, let me just say, when I played that audio by the sound engineer, the audio engineer, her name is Janetta Brantley. Let me just say, I actually said yesterday that it sounded kind of like staticky to me, but that I realized later that is simply because of my audio is messed up on my darn computer. You all know I've been telling you for months that the audio on my computer is messed up, and that sometimes I can't hear the music. When I play music for you all, I can't always hear it. Okay, so that's what happened with that audio, because when I listened to it on my phone later, it was very clear. So she did a very good and thorough job, okay, without the use of AI. So with that all being said, shout out to her for that. But here's the thing. So I picked up and I was watching some more of the video footages from the interviews and all of that, okay? I want y'all to pay attention. We're going to get into it. Let's talk about this, him supposedly being drunk or drinking heavily, as TMZ wants us to think, because I absolutely don't believe that. Nolan Wells was drinking heavily while partying with friends on Mississippi's Horn Island before his death, according to a new report. Citing preliminary information in a document from the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources. ABC News says witnesses told investigators the 18-year-old was drinking with his buddies on the islands on the 4th of July before going missing. You all know when we first heard something about him drinking? When did we first hear something about him drinking? I'm so glad you asked, right? That was when Warren did the interview with Rage Batum Tatum. That's when he started talking about, oh yeah, Nolan was drinking. Now notice he ended up saying they were all drinking, but he specified Nolan, put Nolan's name out there first to set the stage. Okay, to set the stage. Yes, that's right. Victim blaming, Christopher. That's exactly what they're doing. And it's so disrespectful. And this is how you know that these people are not his friends. Now, think about Javon. You don't hear Javon coming out saying anything crazy. Now, he did go on TMZ, and I was a little displeased with how he was conducting himself and how he was speaking, because it felt like he was covering up for them, for the other folk. But again, it has been alleged that Javon was threatened by someone in Mississippi that told me that information. Okay, so please pay attention. Now, Javon has not come out and said anything negative about Nolan ever. He's only said good things. But these little thugs who are supposed to be his best friends, okay, according to them, self-proclaimed, they have been saying nothing but disparaging things. One night they've said, oh, he's so nice, he was so sweet and all of this, but then they backpedal. Okay, they double back, because this is how you talk out of both sides of your mouth. Then they turn around and say, oh, he was drinking. He was, he was slurred. He had slurred speech. He was walking slow. They were saying all of this, but here's the thing I find interesting. Now, Warren wants us to think that Nolan was drinking so heavily, but Warren is the same person that said he only saw Nolan about twice, or he spoke to Nolan about twice. Now, I want you all to pay attention to something, because I also noticed when I was watching that interview again, okay, I noticed that when he's sitting there talking to Rage Batum Tatum, he starts talking about how Nolan was making him laugh and they were having a good time. And, he was saying all this stuff about Nolan on the island that day. And it was given that you spent a lot of time with him while you were on that island. But then he must have caught himself. He must have caught himself, okay, and realized that, wait a minute, I'm putting myself too close to Nolan. I'm putting myself like I was right there with him all day. Okay, that might make me look a bit suspicious. So let me just roll it on back. And then he says, because why would he say this otherwise? Because then he follows it up with, yeah, it's not like I was hanging out with Nolan all day. I saw him about 2 times, but I had other friends. There was hundreds of other people out there that I knew. Why did he need to say that? Because he'd already opened up his mouth and said things that let us know that he was clearly hanging out with Nolan for a large portion of the time that they were on that island. Okay? He tried to clean it up. I want you all to pay attention. I want you all to pay attention. So now for them to be painting this narrative, because they want us to think, oh, he just got drunk and drowned. See, this is how we know these devils are guilty. Okay? This is how we know that they are guilty. Let me say allegedly. But I'm going to tell you right now, I absolutely think they're guilty because they've done everything that a guilty person would do. They have done everything that guilty people do. First of all, you're coming out here victim blaming, and that's your friend. So you said that was your best friend, that was your bro, that was your buddy. But you want to come out here and victim blame? I find it all interesting. Okay? I find it all interesting at the end of the day. But here's the thing. Let's talk about it. Likes up, everyone. Please like and share. Now, we have not seen any remorse from them. We have not seen a tear. We've not seen them get choked up. We've not seen any of that. Now, mind you, they don't have to tear up. Everybody grieves differently. But the thing that we all have noticed, I'm sure, is just the cold, callous way that they deliver their talking points. They seem to not even have any empathy nor sympathy. They're talking about him in such a matter-of-fact way. And I find that to be very disrespectful if you claim to have been his friend. Let's talk about how I was speaking to you yesterday about the fact that Tristan, when he was sitting there talking to Rage Batum, he had his arms folded so tightly. And I told you all, that's defensiveness. That's a defensive posture. You see, what it does is it closes you off from the person asking you the questions. It creates a physical barrier that blocks any perceived threat or disagreement. Okay? And it's also kind of self-soothing at the same time because you see, it's like you're hugging yourself, trying to relieve your stress or your anxiety that you might be feeling. It's kind of an awkwardness, okay? And that's exactly what he was doing. But not only was he sitting there with his arms folded so tightly, if you take your arms right now, each of you listening, put your arms like he had his arms. Just put your arms like that. And I want you to sit with your arms like that for 2 minutes. No, matter of fact, do it for 1 minute. Sit with your arms tucked under your chest, hands under your arms, right? Tightly. Sit like that for 1 minute and tell me how uncomfortable that is, how unnatural that feels. But he sat there during that entire interview in that same position with that same defensive posture. He wasn't relaxed at all. Okay? Obvious signs of someone who has something to hide. Now, here's the thing. Tristan doesn't mind coming out and speaking because he wasn't on the boat. So he's not really worried about anyone potentially blaming him. But what he did was he came out to show his allegiance. Okay, Marie James said uncomfortable and unnatural. Yes. Mel said very uncomfortable. Thank you. So you all see who's going to sit like that for a long arse interview. It's going to sit like that. It's wholly unnatural. But he wanted to come out and prove his allegiance to the rest of them. That's what he did. That's why he came and spoke out. Because he really could have stayed quiet. He wasn't on the boat with them. He supposedly left before they did. So rather than him showing his allegiance to Nolan, his so-called best friend, he rather sides with those people who were supposedly on the boat with Nolan. But hold on. Let's talk about something else. Because there's another clip from that video, from that interview. Here is another clip from that interview where Warren is talking about Bart. Hold on, give me a second to pull it up. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance, beloved. Okay, now I want you all to listen to this. I had to pull this up on my TikTok real quick. Hold on. Now listen to this.
Now, all of our, we're not focused on anything else other than the hope. Well, then eventually, my buddy Bart on the sideline is like, I'm going to pull y'all out. Eventually, Bart pulled us out. We left at 4:30, but we really weren't pulled out away from everybody. We were probably about a quarter mile out, and we had the towing strap.
Now I want you all to pay attention. He had the towing strap or whatever, right? Which, like I told you, is very dangerous to use a towing strap or rope or whatever. That's very dangerous, okay, to be pulled, pulling someone like that, and you're not a professional. But here's the thing. So let me get this straight. Bart's the one that pulled them out? So Bart was on another boat? Is that what he's saying? That Bart is the one who pulled them out, so he would have had to have been on another boat to have done that, right? But we all heard Bart's name being called in that background audio. Not only that, I believe we heard Bart speak, because right before somebody said, "Damn it, Bart." Y'all remember that? Before somebody said, "Damn it, Bart," right before that, someone was yelling something or saying something like they were irritated, perhaps. And I believe that was Bart. And I think that's why someone said, "Damn it, Bart." Okay, hold on. Now I'm going to go to the audio again. I'm going to go to the audio again just so we can go back to that part. Oh, wait a second. There's a video of Rage Batum Tatum listening to the audio. Let me just send that to my email, because I definitely want to hear what this devil had to say. I definitely want to hear what he had to say. Hold on, beloveds. Now, mind you, listen, I want you all to pay attention. Now, usually I have all of my receipts together handy, but you all know that sometimes during the broadcast, I start thinking of stuff and then I start looking for it, okay? When I start just realizing stuff. Hold on. Let me pull up that audio. Here it is right here. Here it is right here. Now, we're going to listen to this again. And then we're going to go to some information on Bart. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Try to pay attention to how we, the people, are doing more of a thorough investigation into this than the police, okay, down there with Sheriff Ledbetter in Ocean Springs. All right, I want you all to pay attention. We're doing a better investigation than they ever could, as far as I'm concerned. I don't care what anyone says. The people are out here doing the work. Okay, here we go. Now I'm going to share the screen.
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can y'all please come? We have a membership. Shut up! Shut the fuck up!
This first video, I'm sharing only approximately 37 seconds of the call.
Now, with that all being said, I believe that was Bart speaking. Okay, so absolutely, absolutely, they were jealous of Nolan, in my opinion. Okay, I absolutely believe and have no doubt that they were jealous. So let's go to some of this information on Bart. Like step, everyone, please hit that like button, like and share. Thank you in advance. So there's the notorious Bart right there. Okay. Edmiston was one of the top punters in the Mountain West last season. He was fourth in the conference and number 12 in the nation at 46.1 yards per punt. Okay, so he has a pretty decent record. Now, with that all being said, when you look him up via Google, of course, you find out his football stats and all of that. Hold on, I'm about to go to his X account, which I was just on this morning. Now, he clearly has a love for football, as did Nolan. Now, of course, they didn't play the same position. He's a punter for Wyoming. Nolan played wide receiver and did an excellent job doing so, in my opinion. I've seen some of his footage. Okay, so now with that being said, he proudly represents Ocean Springs, as you can see. Okay. Blessed to say I am committed to Wyoming. Big thanks to coach, and he thanks all the coaches for the opportunity or whatever. Here he's posted some clips and all of this. So you know what that says to me? And he has a history of football players in his family. Okay. So with that all being said, I had to just get rid of a troll who said, "You're just trying to put this on them without proof." Sit down somewhere, devil. Okay? The devils always want to come and interrupt when they know, please pay attention, when they know we're on to something. That's when the devils always show up and try to change the trajectory of the conversation. Okay? If I'm just trying to put something on them, devil, then let me just do that and you can go watch someone else's live. Now, that being said, as I was saying, Greta says Queen was correct from day one about this case. Thank you, beloved. Now, with that all being said, you know what that makes Bart? That makes him sort of the hometown hero, okay? Representing Ocean Springs and all of that. And he's got other football players who previously played the game in his family, coming from a long line, supposedly. But now here comes Nolan. And Nolan was supposed to start a D1 training camp on that Monday. I think somebody was absolutely jealous. Okay, I think someone was absolutely jealous, and he's on the roster for 2026. Bart Edmondson, this is his football roster. Okay, so yeah, I believe that absolutely has something to do with it, but hold on. Hold on. There was a post that I have. Let me just pull up this post. No, let's take a look at this. Because, see, here's the thing. Warren just said that Bart is the one who pulled the boat out. Okay? But in the audio, it's obvious that Bart is likely on the boat with them. Okay? We hear someone say, "Damn it, Bart." We all heard it. Now let's go to this post that a woman named Jacqueline shared. Like up, everyone, please don't forget to hit that like button. Thank you. Bart's Fort Bayou location matches GPS of boat. But notice nobody wanted to say Bart was there, including Bart, who claimed to be in Wyoming for a year. Say what now? Why would he try to distance himself if this is true and act as though he wasn't there? Why did Officer Rage Batum Tatum allegedly edit out some of the things that were said in that video, such as some person's name? Why did he do that? I have several questions. Okay, I have several questions. And then here's another thing. Now, this is what the psychotherapist came out and said. And I thought this was very interesting because you know what he said? You know how we've all been saying that they show no emotion, they just don't seem like they're bothered, they talk about it so matter-of-factly, and I've been saying this for days, but here's the thing. The psychotherapist says one thing that he noticed, I'm sure he noticed plenty of things, but specifically one thing that he noticed was the lack of curiosity. The lack of curiosity. Let's get into it because that's basically the same thing I said. Okay, I said, why are they not going out there to help look? Why aren't they going and sitting down talking to the police? The police wouldn't have to come and get me. If it were my best friend, I would go to them and offer up any information that I had, anything that I could tell them, anything that I potentially knew, no matter how minuscule, because you never know what can help. But they supposedly didn't do that. They lawyered it up, deactivated social media accounts. Okay. Now on the heels in the 11th hour, right before Ben Crump releases the independent autopsy report, the devils come out of the woodwork. And now all of a sudden, everybody wants to talk. Trayston comes out. Warren comes out. Okay. The other young man comes out, Aviz. That's his last name. I don't remember his first name, Julio Jose or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. But his last name is Aviz. He comes out. The DA comes out. All of these people, the governor comes out. All of these people all of a sudden got so much to say. All of these people suddenly have so much to talk about. But y'all were just so quiet, right? Didn't Judge Ashley Cole tell y'all to be quiet and not to be all out there in the media? Okay, please pay attention. The DA told the officials not to do any media coverage, not to be out there talking publicly. You know why? Because she knew that if people start talking and keep talking, somebody sooner or later is going to slip up. And you know why she knows that somebody's going to slip up? I'm so glad you asked, because they're lying. Because this is a whole cover-up. And it's not allegedly a cover-up. I'm saying it is absolutely 100% a cover-up. That's what it is. And the DA didn't want anybody talking because then you start telling on yourself. And that's exactly what these boys have done, these young men. That's exactly what they have done. Now, hold on. Let's go to this clip. Likes up, everyone. Please like and share. Thank you in advance. And this is the psychotherapist that I showed you a video of days ago. Excuse me. And we just watched him on Don Lemon's show yesterday.
I've watched a ton of footage related to Nolan Wells' friends being interviewed. Two of them have now done interviews, or at least their interviews have been released. And there is one red flag that stands out to me above all else. The single most concerning red flag for me as a practicing clinician who's been working with clients for over 20 years and has sat with lots and lots of people. There's one thing that they are doing, or actually not doing and not saying, that is alarming to me. But before I explain what it is, I do want to say, I am not saying that these boys are guilty of committing a crime. I don't know what happened that day, and I can't say for sure that they did or did anything or played any role in Nolan Wells' death. But what I will say is some of the information that is coming out as they do these interviews and some of the things that they're saying and some of the details, I mean, some of these things are very suspicious and should be investigated. Now, the biggest red flag that I've noticed, not just in these interviews, but in the entire series of events that have taken place since Nolan Wells was missing, is the absence of curiosity, both in their language in these interviews and in their conduct since Nolan Wells' body went missing. And let me explain what I mean. If you were going on an island on a trip with your three best friends, among them was Nolan Wells, who two of you are now described as best friend and or brother. These are terms of extreme closeness. So here we are, a group of four people. We're best friends and brothers. And one of them decides to stay on the island, and then you never see him again. Now, if we believe what these boys are saying, they don't know what happened to him. The last time they saw him was when he decided to stay on that island, and they haven't seen or heard from him since. If we believe that that's true, then what we know is, then the boys don't know what happened either. And they should be experiencing curiosity. They should be thinking, we're just as concerned, confused, and desirous of hearing the truth as everybody else. And they should be taking actions that look like that. Going back to the island and see if they could like retrace steps and see if there's maybe a detail that they missed. They should be looking at the videos and try to see, do we recognize anybody in these videos that we could tell to police, like, here are some people you guys might not be noticing, because we knew lots of people. According to one of them, they knew like 30 people that were on the island, and I haven't seen anywhere where they were like helping the police or looking at the video footage or the pictures from that day saying, here's what's happening. They should be returning to the island and helping look for footprints, anything that would tell them like this might be what happened. Now, they've gone back to the island. At least one of the interviews took place on the island, but it was more to like defend themselves and to explain how they don't know anything. But there was no language whatsoever and no actions whatsoever that are associated with curiosity. And in those interviews, not one time, and I watched everything I get my hands on, I didn't hear one person say, man, I wish I could figure out what happened. I can't even sleep. All I'm thinking about is replaying the events of that day, trying to figure out what happened. I wish I could get the details, and I wish I could let the mom and dad know what happened. They're not using that kind of language. And that is extraordinarily concerning. The only thing that removes curiosity is certainty. Okay? So somebody knows something because they must have certainty about something, or else they would be experiencing curiosity, as I've been explaining. Now, certainty is very, very important. Now, again, I am not saying that they did anything, but what I am saying is someone in that circle very likely knows more than they're saying, because that's the certainty that is removing the curiosity. This is by far, in my opinion, the largest red flag amongst all the things that I have noticed. And if I were doing the investigation, if I were interviewing these kids, I would hone in on exactly why they're not experiencing curiosity. It's alarming to me that the person doing the interview did not push on anything, but I would be saying, how come I'm not seeing this? And how come you're not saying that? And how come you're not experiencing these things? Because for an experienced person interviewing people, that would be something that would be standing out to me for sure.
Okay, you all heard that. That is the biggest red flag. And as he said, the only thing that would allow you to not have curiosity is certainty, because they already know what happened, allegedly. Okay, in my opinion. Okay, so shout out to him for that, because that's very interesting. But I want you to pay attention. Excuse me. I want you to pay attention to something else. And also, hold on. Notice how he said that, you wouldn't be able to sleep and all of that. And I absolutely told you all that, right? I told you all that days ago. I said, no, listen, Warren claims that he was asleep, but he's such good friends with Nolan. He said he was asleep, and his dad came to wake him up and said, hey, what's going on with Nolan? He's all over the internet or whatever. So you went to bed that night. You were so concerned, though, that you called Miss Christine Wansley. You called the Coast Guard. You did all of that, and then you went and got a good night's sleep. I told you, guilty people always go to sleep. That's what they do. While the person who's innocent would be up pacing the floors, trying to figure out what happened. How did I get here? What's going on? Okay? So with that all being said, the fact that he could rest well at night, the fact that he could sit there and go back and revisit Horn Island just weeks after the death of his friend and not even get choked up, the least bit emotional, just talking about it like it's what he's ordering for dinner with him and Rage Tatum. Now, if he was really Nolan's best friend, he would have been out there with Rage Tatum looking around, okay? Like Mr. Connie just said. He would have been out there looking around, trying to figure out what happened. Is there any traces, any evidence, anything I can find? No, he didn't do that. He sat there and defended himself the whole time and tried to paint himself as some sort of savior. Oh, I'm the one that called Miss Wansley. Javon didn't call her. Quick to point that out. Okay? Quick to point that out. And then attacking the mother. They basically called Miss Wansley a liar. Because she said that she didn't know Trayson. And Trayson says, oh, I've parked my car and left my car at her house plenty of times. Me and Nolan hung out all the time. See, you can say all of that and it may be true, but the bottom line is that does not mean that Miss Wonsley knows you. That does not mean that you've ever been introduced to her. Okay? I don't think he was a friend of Nolan's. I think that he was an associate. My mother used to always say that everybody is not your friend. Some people will be your friends, but others will simply be associates. Okay? And I believe that's all that he was. I do believe that Nolan thought that Warren was a good friend of his. But I want to tell you something else. If you notice on the pictures with Warren and Nolan, how there's always a hug. He's always touching Nolan. If you notice, even in the pool party picture, he said himself in the interview that I'm the one with my arm around Nolan. You know what that's given? That's given a whole hater. Because I'm going to tell you all something, and I've told you this before. There are some haters who will always act as though they're your biggest cheerleader. They'll smile so much, laugh at all your jokes, act like they just love you so much, but really, they're a silent enemy who is secretly waiting to have a front row seat at your demise. How many times have I told you all that through the years? Because I've dealt with these type of people myself. They're envious. There's something about you that they could never have. It doesn't have to be your money. Doesn't have to be anything material. It could be your good looks, your athletic prowess. It could be the fact that you're the person who has a light within you that other people see when they're in your presence and they love to be around you. The things that they said about Nolan, the good things they said about him, I believe all of that to be true. But remember, a devil doesn't like those characteristics in a person because they don't have them themselves, because they're full of low vibrational dark energy. Okay, think about the story I told you all of the guy who killed his best friend. Pay attention. A few years ago, I told you all the story about a white guy who killed his best friend's entire family. I even mentioned this to you recently, a couple of months ago, if I'm not mistaken. And the only one he didn't kill was the sister who'd come home from college for the weekend. And she just so happened to escape because he didn't know she was in the house. But this is a guy who came to their house every day, ate dinner with them every day. Well, not every day, but he sometimes ate dinner with them. And when he murdered them, in their beds as they slept after he broke in the dark of night. The police asked him when they found out he was the one who did it. As they interrogated him, they asked him, why did you kill this family? He was supposed to be your best friend. And you know what he said? He said, because they were too happy. That's what he said. He said, because they were too happy. They ate dinner together every evening at 6 o'clock. They would laugh and talk amongst themselves. He said they were too happy. He hated them because of their joy. Just like racist MAGA mans hate us when we are exhibiting joy. That's why they try to ruin our day. Oh, 911. Yeah, there's some black people having a barbecue at the park. There's black people at the pool with socks on. They hate to see the joy because they're devils. Okay? Anyone who has a demonic spirit on them does not want to see anyone else happy because they're miserable. And the sad thing is, some of these wicked devils are very wealthy. They have all the money they can stand, but still they envy other people who have nowhere near what they have materially because they hate the person because of who they are. I had a conversation with a woman one time years ago. I was telling her about this so-called friend that I had who was always hating on me, saying little slick things, trying to discredit my goals or trying to tell me, oh, you can't do this. You're going back to college? That's going to take forever. Trying to discourage me from doing positive things in my life, always talking down on my dreams. And I asked this lady, I was getting my nails one day, this was years ago. And I said, you know, we were just having a conversation. I said, I have this so-called friend and I'm just wondering why she's always hating on me. I don't have any more than she does. I'm not rich. You know, she has a friend who's rich and all of this, fancy house and cars and all of that stuff, but she doesn't seem to hate on them, but she's always hating on me. And I just don't understand why. The lady told me, she said, baby, let me tell you something. Sometimes people hate you for simply who you are. It is something about you that God gave you that they could never buy. And they hate you for it. And I think that's exactly what was going on with Nolan. I think that Warren looks like a hater. He talks like a hater. The way he speaks on Nolan just sounds like he was full of hidden hate. And let me say something else too. I heard someone say, as they were talking about this case on their live, I heard someone say that they didn't think it had anything to do with race, but they did think that they killed him, and then they all agreed to cover it up. And I think they said they believed it was an accident, but they said that they all agreed to cover it up. So here's the thing I want you all to pay attention to with what that person said. If they killed him, whether on purpose or by accident, and they all got together and decided to cover it up and keep it a secret, it's absolutely about race. Because I can guarantee you that if Nolan had killed one of them, you think all of those white boys would have agreed to cover it up for Nolan? You think all of those white boys would have taken a vow of silence to never tell the tale? You think they would have helped Nolan to kill one of them? Absolutely not. So it is about race. It absolutely is about race. Okay? And it always has been in this country. I don't care what anyone says. So I just find it interesting, like I said. And then Tatum asking those closed off questions. He didn't want the truth. He already knows the truth, in my opinion. I think he knows absolutely that they're not being honest. Like I said, he's a former police officer, and I'm sure he's conducted numerous investigations where there was interrogations that he had to do. He should know by now a liar when he hears one. He should know all the tactics that I just brought up. The closed off, the arms folded across the chest, signs of defensiveness. The fact that Warren mentioned that he went to bed and slept well that night, his father had to wake him up the next morning. They all rested well. Remember how Nolan's father, Mr. Elmer Wansley, said that he went by the house to pick up those keys and the guy had just woken up. His hair was all over his head. So they were sleeping good. Okay? That's what they were doing. They slept well, even after knowing, allegedly, what had happened to Nolan. Okay? Absolutely, I believe that. And then, again, no curiosity. That's the biggest red flag. So you don't have questions? You're not calling the police to see how the investigation's going like Nolan's mom has been doing? You're not trying to figure out if they've made any further steps, if they found out anything else? Has anyone else come forward? No new information to be updated on a regular basis like we're all doing and we didn't even know Nolan? Yeah, you don't need to ask questions when you already know the answer. Okay? You don't need to ask questions when you already know the answer. Please pay attention. This is all so crazy. Now, the fact that they want to come out and act like, Nolan was doing all of this drinking, I absolutely don't believe it because, like I told you all, he had football training. Let's go to this video that Secret Service Sam posted talking about TMZ. Likes up, everyone. Please don't forget to like and share.
Wondering what TMZ is doing. Charles on TMZ just says the only question he asks is why would they be doing this in the background of an audio knowing that somebody is on the phone with the C-Tow company? And the answer is, haven't you ever been drunk? Haven't you ever been around obnoxious drunk people who all they do is yell at the top of their lungs and they can't hear how loud they're talking? It's called inebriated kids. And here's the thing. It doesn't matter why, it doesn't matter how, it doesn't matter where. We hear what we hear. I don't think anybody is hearing something that isn't there. And TMZ, you've been like 3 weeks late on this entire case. You're still pushing the narrative you posted saying, oh, there's been other people who have drowned. Like, who is paying you guys to push this narrative? That's what I don't understand about it. And why when Ben Crump is accused of lying, there's so much obvious evidence that he wasn't lying. I posted it myself from the United Cajun Navy. He went on Nancy Grace. He said he was fully clothed and face down. Why haven't you guys updated that? Why haven't you guys said Tate Reeves coming after Ben Crump is lying? Why are you not defending the right side of history? You're making us strongly question you, TMZ. And then again, like, why is anybody giving any validation to Officer Race Batum Tatum when we know this clown is just there to comfort white fragility? So TMZ, get your stuff together. You're way late on the game. The independent journalists like us, we are the ones on the right side of history and making this story still stay in the news so we get justice for Nolan Xavier Wells. You need to step up, you need to wake up, and you need to take that trash down. Secret Service Sam out, Samson for president of the world. Sam here, and I'm wondering.
Okay. What they're doing is absolutely nefarious. Now let's go to this report by ABC News. Let's go to this report because they too have a report saying witnesses told authorities Nolan Wells had heavy alcohol intake. Preliminary info. You know, I would like to see the toxicology reports. That's what I'd like to see. I would like to see the toxicology report, but here's the thing. That's being done or was done if it's already completed down there at Ocean Springs. Okay? And let's not forget that Warren's father does toxicology. Y'all remember that, right? Dr. Benjamin Hudson. Remember I showed you all the whole spiel on him and what exactly he practices in medicine?
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking.
This morning, more audio of the frantic.
These are the Millers. They just discovered the sweet sound of earning.
Why did this switch to a commercial so quickly? Hold on, beloveds. I'm waiting for this to cue, waiting for this ad to stop. A few more seconds. I don't even know why it went to this. I literally just sat here and waited for it.
Since Nolan Wells vanished in the waters off the Mississippi Gulf Coast, the district attorney is speaking out to defend the investigation into the 18-year-old's death.
Nolan's family deserves answers, and our community deserves answers.
While his family and his community are clamoring for answers, District Attorney Angel Myers-McElrath says Wells's case is being handled the same way as every death investigation.
I understand the public's urgency to know what happened to Nolan, but we are not taking time for time's sake. We are taking the time required to complete the work this investigation demands.
She met last week with Wells's parents, who pledged to allow investigators to examine his phone, which he left behind in a boat during a July 4th trip with friends to Horn Island. Few details have been released, but the district attorney says that's by design.
The pressure for answers does not change what the work requires. Our responsibility to Nolan and our community is to complete this investigation thoroughly, carefully, without compromise, supported by the evidence and worthy of the confidence of the people we serve.
The Wells family is skeptical Mississippi authorities are up to the job.
My concern, and also my husband's concern, was it was not even an hour that his body had been removed. And the sheriff came out and said, this is, accidental drowning.
Hold on. Let me say something, beloveds. Let me just say something right here. There was just someone in the chat saying that, and all of you Black people who hate white people can lick or kiss his white A. Let me tell you something. I find it interesting. I want you all to really pay attention to the devil. Okay, to MAGA minions, because that's what that person was. You see, here's the thing. They're so full of hate. Let me just make this clear. These MAGA minion types are so full of hate and angst for Black people and such disdain. And for no good reason, if you ask me. Because we don't go around harassing them, doing anything to them, to brutalize them or anything. But they have so much hate and anger for us. They always have to say negative things about us. They always have to be accusatory towards us. If we are accused of something, we're automatically guilty. There's no presumption of innocence in the slightest. Let's go back to the Carmelo Anthony case. We all see how it went. They didn't give a darn about justice, truth and justice. They only cared about getting revenge. Okay, they only cared about their side. That's what racist, hateful, wicked devils do. So here's their thinking. Here's their thinking. If someone is a pathological liar, for example, they can never fully believe things that other people say when they have the slightest doubt, because they assume that because they lie so much, that of course all other people lie as well as they do, which isn't even true. So that devil that was just in the chat that I just blocked, who said, y'all, all of y'all black people who hate white people, y'all can kiss my A. Here's the thing. We don't hate white people. What is he even talking about? Okay? We don't hate white people because we're calling out these people who we suspect of having done something nefarious to Nolan. Now, we've also called out Trayston, who in fact is black. Okay, he may be biracial, but he's considered black. We know that. But we've also called him out for covering. Okay? And for supposedly not being honest. Now, with that all being said, the reason that devil would think that just because we're asking for justice and we have questions and we're conducting our own investigations and doing our own research, he would suggest that we hate white people because that's what he does. Because he knows that's how racist devils like him think about us. They say bad things about us because they hate us. They say things about, they accuse us of things, okay, because they hate us. So to him, in his stupid, obtuse mind, well, that's an oxymoron because stupid and obtuse mean the same thing. But nonetheless, in his mind, if we're talking about these young men, if we're going in on them, if we believe or suspect that they've done anything nefarious, that means we hate white people. Because why aren't we blaming it on some black person? Wasn't Javon there? Why aren't we blaming it on some black person? Why are y'all going so hard in the paint? They keep saying this over and over. I see it all over my TikTok comments. Okay, I see it all over my TikTok comments. I see it all over my Facebook. Well, not really on my Facebook comments so much, but on my Instagram. Okay? I see these comments all the time. Y'all just hate white people. Y'all just want them to go down because they're white. That's projection. Again, let me remind you, beloveds, every accusation is in fact a confession. Because that's what they do. They wanted Carmelo to go down just because he was black. If Carmelo had been white and the same thing happened, they would have gladly said that it was self-defense. Okay? But because it was a black person, they wanted him to go down. And so they think that we feel how they feel. We don't. We do not. Okay, because racist MAGA minions don't have any ounce of humanity within them. They absolutely don't. They have no empathy, they have no conscience, and they have no humanity. There's nothing humane about these racist MAGA minions. And they want to try to paint us as the same. They want to try to act as though us seeking justice is spewing hate. So wait a minute, let me get this straight. So we're supposed to just sit here and twiddle our thumbs while black people continue to die in the presence of all white folk and not be the least bit suspicious, not have at least one or two questions, not want a full-on investigation conducted, not look at the people who were last to be around that person with some ounce of curiosity? Yeah, that's exactly what they want us to do. That's exactly what they want us to do. Okay, so please pay attention. These people are so nefarious, but let's continue.
I don't think there's foul play.
Sources tell ABC News Wells's body was found face down in the water, consistent with drowning. An autopsy the family commission said the cause and manner of the 18-year-old's death was undetermined.
The results of the state's official autopsy are still pending. The district attorney is pleading for patience, hoping to convince the public that protecting the integrity of the investigation will allow the truth to be known with confidence. Rebecca?
Yeah, something both his family and the public deserves, that confidence. Okay, Aaron, thank you.
Okay, so now with that all being said, let me read this article that they also posted along with that video. Witnesses told investigators that 18-year-old Nolan Wells had been drinking heavily with friends on Horn Island in Mississippi, according to a document with preliminary information from the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources. Now, the document, a description sent on July the 5th by the Marine Patrol as part of attempts to find Wells after he went missing. Now, it was an email that listed basic information for Wells, including his physical description as searchers scanned the island for signs of him after he went missing on July the 4th. Now, Wells was found dead on July the 6th, and his cause of death is not known. The official autopsy report from the state medical examiner's office and the toxicology tests are pending. A private autopsy commissioned by Wells's family preliminarily ruled his case and manner of death as undetermined, pending investigation. Authorities say they suspect Wells drowned. Jackson County Sheriff John Ledbetter said there was no initial indication of a crime, but he stressed that investigators were working diligently to determine exactly what occurred. Ledbetter also said the sheriff's office welcomed the family's independent investigation. Okay, I want you all to pay attention. Hold on. Thank you, Des. Des just sent me some breaking news. Hold on. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Let's see what this is, honey. Here they come. Here they come with more of the BS. Okay, we're getting to that in just a second. Now, with that being said, another document ABC News obtained reinforced what friends told investigators about Wells, or about why Wells was not on the return trip on July the 4th in the boat that he took to Horn Island with his friends. A police report from the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources said several friends that traveled to the island on the vessel with Nolan told authorities that when they left, he was in the company of an unknown female and that he chose to remain at the island. Friends have said that they did not abandon Wells, but needed to return to shore because the boat was taken on water. Now, ABC News obtained GPS footage or GPS data from the boat Wells rode to Horn Island. And so we already know what happened with that. Okay, but I want you all to pay attention. Here's the thing. Hold on. What is this they're saying? Okay, now listen to this, because now they're giving more context about the boat, which I find interesting. Okay, they say the GPS data showed the boat set off for the island at 9:56 a.m. on July the 4th and arrived at 11:14 a.m. The data showed the boat was stationary from that point until 4:30 p.m. At 4:31 p.m., the boat left Horn Island moving slowly at no more than 4.2 knots for nearly 3 miles. Now, they've never said this before. At 5:25, as it pertains to how fast or slow the vessel was moving. Now, at 5:25 p.m., the boat regains normal operation with a speed of 30 to 35 knots and arrived on shore about 20 minutes later, according to data. Okay, so what I'll say to that is this. It was likely moving slowly because they were trying to get their alibi together and they were making that nefarious phone call. Okay, please pay attention. That's just my opinion. Now, that being said, let's go to what TMZ just put out. Here it is right here. And I find this all interesting. Nolan Wells not seen in video of towed boat after dispatch call. Oh, okay. Officer Tatum posted this. Okay, let's get into it. Because for all we know, they could have knocked him or thrown him overboard. I'm not saying they did, but to me, this doesn't prove a darn thing because we definitely heard them saying, Nolan, wake the F up. So miss me with it. But look at this here. I'm going to play it without the audio first so we can see everything. And then I'll put an overlay on it and play the audio because I don't want any copyright claims or strikes. Let's get into it. Now, who was videoing the boat? Who was videoing the boat? And you see Officer Tatum's name on there. That's his watermark. Okay, that's his watermark. So now he's doing his darndest. Honey, they must be paying Tatum overtime. Okay, they must be paying him overtime for his hard work because he is going hard in the paint. Believe me when I say. Hard in the paint. So we saw that video. Okay, and how do we know it was from that day? How do we know that? They said they went to Horn Island all the time. They said they've been there hundreds of times, right? They said they've been there hundreds of times. So how do we know that was from that day? And even if it were, the bottom line is that doesn't prove anything to me. We know what we heard. So now they're trying to discredit what we all heard, right? Now they're trying to discredit what we all heard. I find it absolutely egregious. Now, hold on for a second, because did someone tell me to check my email? Hold on, listen to this. Here's what they say in the report. There's new video evidence Nolan Wells was not aboard his friend's boat when it was being towed from Horn Island, which backs up what 2 witnesses have told law enforcement. Nolan was still on the island after the boat headed home. Never before seen video photos appear to show Nolan's friends on the boat preparing to be towed back to the mainland without him. There are 7 people on board, and Nolan is not seen in the footage, which was obtained by the Officer Tatum show. That must be the proof that he was talking about. If you all remember, he came out after those interviews and said that he had proof that those boys are innocent, that they didn't do anything. Now, the footage seemingly confirms what we first reported. Sources with direct knowledge of the investigation told us authorities have evidence of Nolan being on Horn Island after the boat departed on the 4th of July. Nolan's friends called for a tow, reporting their boat was taken on water due to a failing bilge pump, and we heard audio of their panic call to a private towing service. We enhanced the audio from the call for help, and some people swear they hear. Listen to this. Are they going to try to act like we didn't really hear what we're saying we heard? Some people swear they heard someone saying, "Is he dead?" It's not clear if that was ever actually said. And our sources say the people on the boat deny it. When did they deny it? Because I'm sorry, but didn't they say they were saying things because they were panicked? Isn't that what they just said yesterday? So now the story's changing again. I want you all to pay attention. The stories keep changing. Okay, the stories keep changing. And what did I tell you all yesterday? The truth never changes. The truth is constant. The truth is easily remembered. You don't forget the truth. Like when Warren was sitting there in that interview and all of a sudden he couldn't remember his train of thought. And he said, "Oh, I forgot my thought." Yeah, he forgot the script, in my opinion. If he were sitting there telling the whole truth, he wouldn't have to forget his train of thought. Okay? Now, with that all being said, everyone on the boat denies it. Well, of course they would. In the video, the person standing at the helm appears to be on the phone. Nolan's friends say they told him to get on the boat and leave with them, but he decided to hang back with a woman. Her sister claims she was under the impression Nolan was leaving on the boat with his friends, and his friends weren't going to leave him behind. The boat was not towed by the private service. Another boat anchored on Horn Island towed Nolan's friends instead. Please stop calling them his friends. They were not his friends, and we all should know that by now. It's disrespectful at this point. His frenemies. And they said they were eventually able to get the boat working and cruise back to the mainland without Nolan. Now, here's a picture. This is the same picture we already saw. The picture of Nolan bending over on someone's boat. So TMZ is the one who put out that audio, enhanced audio, and now it looks like they're backpedaling. Now, Nolan's friends say they left Horn Island at 4:30 p.m. and they claim someone told them they saw Nolan at 6 p.m. on the Barrier Island. That means nothing. Anyone can say somebody told them anything. Who the hell told them that? Where are these 2 witnesses that saw him? Okay, and who are these people that claim that to know that he was drinking? And what was he drinking that he was so drunk? I don't believe a word of any of it. Now, as you know, Nolan was reported missing and his body was found July the 6th after it washed up on Horn Island near where he was last seen. Mississippi authorities say they suspect Nolan drowned, but Nolan's family isn't buying it. They hired famed civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump. Okay, we already know the rest. What's taking so long for them to get that autopsy report to the grand jury? How long is that going to be? How long is that going to be? And is there absolutely really going to be a grand jury? Because you know it's done in private, so we would never know. Okay, there's that. These people are something else. Okay, they are something else. Now, I would be curious, I am curious to know if we're going to see any of the autopsy report, the toxicology report, or any of that. Let's go back to Warren's father, for those of you who may have missed it. And listen, if you anyone who has missed any of my videos on this, I would implore you to go back and watch those videos, because from day one, I have been just, digging up research on these people, okay? Just digging up research on these people. I did the same thing with Carmelo Anthony's case. You see, you need to know what kind of people you're dealing with. And so that's why I looked up the backgrounds, the credentials, and all of that on all of the people that are involved. Dr. Benjamin Hudson, emergency medicine is his specialty. But when you scroll down and it talks about his subspecialties, well, medical toxicology. So with that being said, is he going to have anything to do with that? Okay, I have several questions. Now, here's something else I want you all to take a look at. Remember, I was telling you all on yesterday, I was talking about white fragility and the woman who wrote the book about it and coined the phrase in 2011. I want to bring up her video, because what she says, and she's not talking about Nolan's case, she's just talking about, the white people who are uncomfortable talking about racism. And the only white people that are uncomfortable talking about racism, in my opinion, are racist white people. Okay, they're the ones that are uncomfortable. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to hear about it. They don't want to think about it. They don't want you bringing it up. Okay, because then you're shining a light on them. Now, Gelato says the only way they can keep a secret is if one of them stays alive. The truth will come out eventually. Yeah, I absolutely believe it will, beloved. I absolutely believe that it will. The truth always eventually comes to light. Thank you for your insight into the topic and your contribution to the channel. I appreciate you, beloved. Peace, love, and blessings. Queen Sarita says they are saying that they actually saying the boat engine is dead. Well, here's the thing. If the boat engine was dead, how did they go to all those other places? How did they go to all of those places? Okay. Trina says accountability is kryptonite to them. Absolutely. See, here's the thing about racist people. Racist people tend to usually be narcissists too. Okay. A lot of them tend to be narcissists. And what do narcissists never want? That's accountability. Everything is always someone else's fault. It wasn't them. They didn't do it. They don't know what you're talking about. How dare you look at them? They don't want ever any accountability or culpability for anything nefarious that they do. But now let's go to this video here. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. And I'm not going to play this whole thing. I'm just going to play like maybe the first 10 minutes. Let's get into it. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Here we go. You put my overlay on here.
After 20 years of doing this work, I feel very clear about the following. There is something profoundly anti-Black in this culture. And in the white mind, Black people are the ultimate racial other. We have the most energy about Black people. We have the most resentment and anxiety about Black people. And when I have a very short period of time with white people and I want you to get in touch with your early messages, I ask you to think about Black people, right? And anti-Blackness, there are polls, right? White is here and Black is here. And I don't have time to get into it, but there is no white without Black. There's a deep need for white, the white collective. There is no superiority without inferiority, right? So there are polls, and anti-Blackness cuts across all groups, including Black people. The darker you are, the more compounded the oppression. And while I'm here to challenge white people and our complacency, there's a very sensitive couple questions I think peoples of color have to ask themselves. One, what does anti-Blackness look like in our group, and who have I aligned with? So having mentioned history, anti-Blackness, it's a system, I want to just give you one glance at the trajectory of anti-Blackness since the beginning of this country to the current time to illustrate those points. And this slide will be deliberately dense, and we can think about it as state-sanctioned organized crime, quite frankly, against African Americans. And it begins with kidnapping and 300 plus years of enslavement, torture, rape, and brutality, and it carries on. About 1/4 of the way in here, bans on testifying against whites, and you are in my lifetime. 1/4 of the way in that slide, you were in my lifetime where it was technically legal to murder Black people in this country. I would love to never again hear another white person say, I didn't own slaves, as if that ended on that day. And about halfway in at employment discrimination, you are now in 2019 with copious empirical evidence. And if you don't know some of these things, that's on you to educate yourself. But I'm going to pick it up in 2019, and let me repeat, copious empirical evidence. Employment discrimination, educational discrimination, bias laws and policing, white flight, subprime mortgages, mass incarceration, school to prison pipeline, disproportionate special education referrals and punishments, testing, tracking, school funding, biased media, voter suppression, cultural mockery, historical omissions, unaddressed trauma, to name a few. It's a system. It's the system we're in, and none of us could be and none of us were exempt from its forces. And this system is not interrupted by friendliness. The system is not interrupted because I smile at Black people when I pass them by or go to lunch on occasion. And African Americans are not and have never been in the position to do this to the entire white collective, and the white collective has always been and continues to be in the position to do this to African Americans. There is no such thing as reverse racism. Okay? I can say it because nothing in dominant culture gives us the information we would need to have an informed opinion on arguably the most complex, nuanced social dilemma for the last several hundred years. For example, you can get through graduate school in this country without ever discussing racism, can you not? You can get through teacher education in this country without ever discussing racism. And if you're in a progressive teacher education program, you'll have one required course, multicultural of some sort. But that doesn't mean you'll be discussing racism. You might just be talking about how to introduce ethnic authors in February. Okay? You can get through law school. You can be seen as qualified to lead anything virtually. Right? So the first challenge for those of us who are white is humility.
Have you ever seen a product that transforms any ordinary space into a dreamy underwater world in just one?
Angelo. So if I told
and arrogant and ignorant and certain and a little more humble and curious and vulnerable. Right? The last thing that I want to acknowledge is that nothing in society gives any of us good information about how this works. And so hopefully, again, as an insider, I can offer something to people of color. I do think people of color know about white fragility way more than I ever will. But again, I do have an insider's perspective. So let me say a little bit about some of the challenges of trying to educate white people on racism. And a great example is I was recently going to give a similar talk to a large tech company, and before they would sign the contract, the legal department wanted to see my slides. And when they got to this slide, they actually asked me if I could take the word white off the slide. To which I replied, you really should have vetted me before you called. No, I.
Okay, pay attention. Now, they asked her to take the word white out of the slide. They were so offended by that. But why? Why would they be so offended? Because it was the truth. That's why. Because, like I told you, these mega million types, they never want the truth. They never want to be called exactly what they are. They will do anything and everything to try to hide it in some cases. They do things like getting people like Officer Rage Batum Tatum to speak their racist rhetoric for them so they can say, oh, it's not racist. Even a black man said it. Okay? So please pay attention. I find it all very interesting. Now let's go back to what I was saying about Trayston. When Trayston was sitting there, the way he had his arms all crossed and everything like that, that was a calculated deception, in my opinion. Okay, a calculated deception. You see, liars and guilty individuals, what they'll do is, and let me say why I say that. Not only because his arms were folded, but if you all noticed, he was talking in a low, almost monotone voice. Okay, talking in a low, almost monotone voice, and his words were very controlled. Did you all notice that? Did you all notice that? Now, the reason that one would be speaking that way is because of calculated deception. Okay, guilty individuals often slow down their speech and they lower their volume. You see, because this gives their brain vital milliseconds to carefully choose their words and to evaluate their narrative and make sure they're following the script, to avoid slipping up under pressure. You see what I'm saying? And that's what he was doing. See, Warren slipped up, okay? And Trayston also slipped up because when he told us that he saw Nolan walking towards White's boat when he was leaving in the other direction, you're letting us know that he was going back to that boat. Another thing they do is they try to basically act as though they're not anxious or nervous or not trying to hide something. Please pay attention. And something else they do too, it's called the de-escalation illusion. Sometimes these people use that type of tone to try to trick others and even themselves. In some cases, they try to lie to themselves and fool themselves into believing they're completely calm. I haven't done anything wrong. I'm doing what's best. See, that's what Trayston has told himself. Nolan's already dead. We can't bring him back. Now, I'm speaking as if I were Trayston. This is what I think that he's thinking. Nolan's already dead. We can't do anything about it. Okay, yes, something happened, but I still have to live here with these people. I still want to be friends with them. I still want to be part of the in crowd. So with that type of mindset, you would absolutely, not 100%, but I'm just saying, you just might want to use this tactic. Okay? You want to sit there and you want to help your friends to get away with anything they may have done. I don't know if they've done anything nefarious, but I think they have. So with that all being said, that's how he showed and pledged his allegiance to the group. Oh yeah, I'm going to stand on this side. Nolan's gone, can't be on his side. He's already out of here. So this is what I'm going to do to make it comfortable for myself. Everyone at this point is thinking only of themselves. They're not thinking about Nolan. That's why we don't see any tears. We don't see any sadness. We don't see any shows of empathy. That's why they can call his mom a liar, even though they didn't say those words literally. They basically did say it without saying it, acting as though she wasn't telling the truth or being honest when she said that she didn't know Trayston. And then Warren also called her a liar. Remember what he said? I told her we had his phone. No, you didn't, lying devil. I told her we had his phone. No, you didn't, lying devil. She had to track the phone, but even the media was being deceptive because on the first report that came out about that phone, the media painted a picture of them having voluntarily taken her the phone. And then we find out when Ben Crump gets on the scene, that's when the real truth starts coming out. That no, she actually had to trace the phone. She had to track it and then go and pick it up. They didn't volunteer anything. And that's how you know that they're not his real friends. That's how you know that they have to have done something. They have to have done something. Because what are they hiding otherwise? If you didn't do anything wrong, what in the hell are you hiding? Okay? What are you hiding? And why are you lying, even more importantly? Let's go to some of Nolan's football clips. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. I'm going to mute the audio because there's music in the background of some of these. I have a couple, but there's music in the background. I absolutely think that Bart was likely jealous, and not just him. I think Warren was jealous as well. I absolutely believe they envied this young man, not only because of who he was, but because of his talents and how people paid attention to him when he was around. I think they were absolutely envious. Warren specifically, and Bart as well. Okay? That's exactly what I think. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Now, hold on. Let me go to this comment. Ja Rule says, why would you erase all his stuff on Nolan's phone? I hope more young Black kids become private investigators and scientists. Okay, I hope they do too, beloved. I hope they do too. Let me see this. Bronze Brick Smell said, why do I envy your crime, your 5 kids? Which one do I wish upon myself? Well, I'll tell you what you shouldn't wish upon yourself, or what you should. Yeah, this is what you should wish upon yourself, beloved. You should wish that your ancestors hadn't been so nefarious and such savages, that they were, lynching people, that they enslaved people, that they deprived people of rights and freedoms, that they felt better than other people, that they looked down on people as if they were inferior. That's what you should wish upon yourself, that you didn't have such a nefarious history. Okay, that's what you should. While you're trying to sit here and talk about 5 kids, okay, while you're sitting here trying to talk about crime, sorry, have you checked the crime stats lately? Because I'm sure the people that are leading in SE actual crimes are ones who look like you. Mm-hmm. Okay, who's in the Epstein files with the PDF files? Yeah, let's talk about it. Bronze Brick Smell. Okay. Why do you envy? You envy the fact that we're highly melanated, for one. That's why you sit outside and tan to try to get darker. Okay? That's why the women that you date like to inject their lips so they can be full. That's why you envy. Okay? You envy that you can't sit out in the hot sun for more than a few hours without feeling uncomfortable. There's a whole lot of reasons you can envy. You don't have any rhythm, I'm sure. Some white people do, but I'm willing to bet you don't. And also, in the words of Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, you may even have Enos with a P envy of the Black man. Now, with that being said, go have the day that you and your nefarious ancestors clearly deserve. Okay, I want you all to pay attention. You see how the trolls get so offended? You see how they get so butthurt and bent out of shape? Why they're so mad about it? Yeah, because they know we're getting to the truth. They know we're pulling back the curtain and exposing everything that's been covered up. Okay? They know that we've gone digging and we're finding where all the bones are buried. They know this. And so they're upset. So they want to get in all of the channels and chats of Black folk like me and try to go in. Okay? So angry. Nirvana says, Warren said it didn't cross his mind Nolan went missing. He figured he was partying. Yet both Warren and Tristan confirm Warren called the Coast Guard and Nolan's mom that night to report Nolan missing. Exactly, beloved. I made that point days ago. Exactly. Thank you for bringing it back to the forefront. Because that's absolutely what I said. And as a matter of fact, when I just told you all that Warren slipped up, that was the slip up. That was the slip up right there that I told you all days ago. He surely did say that. Remember, he sat there acting as though he was so concerned, calling the Coast Guard, calling Mrs. Wansley, and then turns around and says, yeah, they were getting all upset. Now, when he's saying they were all panicking and freaking out, that's when he's talking about Tashima and Nolan's mom. Because remember, he said Tashima came over and kicked in the door, demanding Nolan's phone. Said she had about 8 people with her. Y'all remember that? Yeah, they were freaking out. Not to mention, Mrs. Wansley said that when she spoke with him or he texted her or whatever, if you remember, he was telling her, don't freak out, or basically telling her, don't worry about it. Remember that? I can't remember exactly the words, but it was something along the lines of, don't worry about it, don't panic, don't freak out, or whatever. How are you going to tell a mom that when her son is missing and he left with you? How are you going to tell that mom that? Okay? Sat there talking about, we just figured he was out partying. Maybe he was sleeping on somebody's couch. That's what he said. So you thought he was out partying and asleep on someone's couch. Well, why in the hell did you call the Coast Guard? Why did you call his mom? That was also the beginning stages of him establishing an alibi as well, just so you know. Not the beginning stages, because the alibi was the boat call, but also that was part of it, in my opinion. Calling the mom to be the first one. He wanted to be the first one to call the mom and act like, hey, have you seen Nolan? Feigning concern. Feigning concern. Because we know he really wasn't concerned, because if he was, he wouldn't have just gone to sleep. But also pay attention to how in the interview with Tatum, he claimed that he got up and they got on the boat and went out there searching. Did they really go out there searching? I don't know. Maybe they did to make it look good. I don't know. Maybe he's lying because he's told so many lies. I mean, at this point, I don't believe anything that either of them say. Okay? And nor should any of us at the end of the day. But you see, here's the thing. This is why it is very dangerous to just trust some people fully and not have the slightest implication in the back of your mind, at least, that this might not be a good idea to just go off by myself. Okay? This is why we have to talk to our children about the racial issues. We have to talk to them about it. You can't hide it. You can't tell your child to not see race, to not see color. They need to see it because everybody sees color when they look at Black folk. I don't care what they say. Some people say, I don't see color. You do see color. You absolutely do. There's things you can do, things you can say, places you can go that I can't go comfortably without there being some sort of drama. So you do see color. There's no getting around it. You can't just negate the fact of all the history and of all the different stories, cases, and scenarios that we've seen and heard about, read about, and talked about. You can't negate that because that's very dangerous. That can be very dangerous. Now, in the past 2 months, all of these Black folk that I have reported to you all that have died by accidental drownings, allegedly, while they were out with white friends, we're not supposed to think that's crazy. We're not supposed to think that's suspicious. How many more do we need to see? You can't sweep this under the rug because there's too many to cover up now. At some point, the rug starts to buckle up, okay? Or it starts to rise. At this point, there's a whole lump in the rug because there's been so many Black deaths swept under there. They tried to sweep Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery's deaths under the rug as well. They tried to sweep Nolan's death under the rug. They had no idea that this will become a national story. People internationally are talking about Nolan's case. I have people in my TikTok comments from other countries talking about this case. Okay? Coming out and saying, RIP to Nolan, justice for Nolan. They never expected or thought that this young man from their town would make such a huge impact. But I'm telling you, this is exactly why Nolan needs to be the final straw, the last and final straw. See, we can't anymore just give passes to people. We can't let things ride. We can't let it slide. At the end of the day, anytime we see a story like Nolan's from now on, we need to put attention on it. We need to shine a light on it. Now, I've been doing that for years, just to be honest, but we all need to do it. We all need to do it. When we hear about cases like Carmelo Anthony, we need to jump on it. And shout out to all of the people who really care and are passionate about their people, who reported on Carmelo Anthony's case, who stood behind Carmelo Anthony. Whether you thought your white subscribers or your white friends would disagree with you or not, because there's some people who didn't say anything because they clearly just didn't want their, white subscribers to get ticked off. So I want you all to pay attention to that, because even someone told me that Jason Hamhock Whitlock, who's a whole raccoon, they said he made a comment the other day about Nolan's case. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it wasn't something that the MAGA millions really wanted to hear. And so they were all in his comments, allegedly. I didn't see this, but someone told me about it yesterday, said they were all up and through his comments going in on him. So he shut the hell up real quick and on to the next point of topic. Okay? And so that's how some of these people who haven't covered Carmelo Anthony's case, that's what some of them did for the same reason. They didn't want the backlash. Well, here's the thing. I don't care about backlash. Okay? I don't care about backlash. I'm going to always be for my people no matter what. And if you're against my people, then you're against me. That's just what it is. Okay? So everyone, please like and share. We're about to conclude this broadcast in a minute or two. But so with that being said, let's talk about the closed questions that Rage Batum was asking, which really didn't elicit much of a vital response. Okay? The type of questions he was asking were questions that really didn't get anywhere. Talking about the boat, talking about people drinking and partying and picking up girls. All of that was just fluff. That was all just fluff. He really didn't get to any significant points. He didn't prove a darn thing. And he wants to sit there and act as though he did. He didn't prove one single thing, okay? That's what he didn't do. But hold on. Let's go to this video clip so I can hear what he's saying about this audio. Let's see what he's saying about this audio from Janetta Brantley, the enhanced audio that she did. And again,
well, let me
shout
let her
out to
speak.
her.
Roll it.
Okay, so before.
Hold on. Let me put an overlay on this. So I don't want this raccoon coming after me for copyright infringement.
No, if she has something to do with that transcript. But let me let her speak. Roll it.
Okay, so before I play this, I want to quickly explain what I did, what you're looking at on the screen, and why I chose to approach this audio the way that I did. As a professional audio engineer with experience in dialogue editing, dialogue cleanup, sound design, and post-production, I decided to work on that CTO call using traditional audio processing techniques rather than relying on any AI voice separation or AI enhancement.
Keep her face up there. I want the world to see this. We're gonna listen to the full thing together, and then you're gonna hear the context around it, and then it's gonna sound super crazy that this woman thinks she heard that within the context of what we're gonna listen to. None of what she said makes any sense when you listen to the whole video and you put the context together. Why does this? And she sounds so smart. She probably did very well in school. I take it as she's being disingenuous. Why is the smartest and most brilliant amongst us putting out garbage like this? I listen to it. Y'all listen to it. Ain't nobody talking about, did you kill him? And all this other stuff. No, if she had.
You see, this is just like the typical raccoon. This is just like the typical raccoon spewing the MAGA minions talking points. That's the same thing they're all saying. That's the exact same thing they're all saying. They're also coming for Ben Crump. These same type of raccoons, they're saying the same things about Ben Crump that the MAGA minions, the wanton supremacists, are saying. He's an ambulance chaser. He's a race hustler. He's doing this. He's doing that. They didn't have that much energy for Tony Busby, who is really an ambulance chaser, in my opinion. They didn't have that smoking energy for him. That's what they didn't do. Okay? Please pay attention. So, yeah, that's what he had to say. I knew it was nothing good, of course, but that was his take on the issue. That's what he felt about it. Now, he's trying to act as though this woman is so smart, but she's said something so stupid and she's being disingenuous. First of all, who is he to decide whether or not she's being genuine? Okay? She sounded very intelligent, yes, but also passionate, something that I can't say the same for him. The only thing he's passionate about is trying to help them sweep this story under the rug, trying to help them get away with whatever nefarious things they did, because they had to have done something nefarious, like I said, in my opinion, to be doing all of this. The likes up, everyone. Please like and share. Let's cover one more thing before I roll out of here, and I will be back later. You can best believe. Hold on, beloveds. Now, here's the thing. Let me just tell you all this. Remember how I was telling you all how the guilty person would just go to sleep and they'll get their rest? Okay? I mean, sleeping soundly, while the innocent person would be tossing and turning and can't go to sleep at all. Innocent people feel like they're trapped in some sort of loop of uncertainty. Okay? Something unfair has happened to them. What is this? I need to get to the bottom of it. Why am I here? How's this going on? But the guilty person, they already know the truth. Like the good psychotherapist said, Mr. Connie, they don't have curiosity because they have certainty. And the same thing applies to why they can rest peacefully at night knowing what's happened. The guilty person already knows the truth. They don't have to waste the mental energy wondering about why, what happened, who did it, how did this occur. There's no mystery for them because it's already been solved. And so that basically removes a massive layer of what I like to call chaotic mental spinning. Okay, that's what that is. Those that follow my spiritual channel, and which I need to get back on, you may have heard me mention that phrase before. Chaotic mental spinning, that's what it is. You see, when you lie awake at night and you're frustrated and you're trying to figure out why things are going on the way they are, that's very taxing on you. And this is why you'll be in a state of unrest. You're very anxious. You're worried, stressed out. You can't sleep well. But that guilty person, they already know the if, ands, the why, the what's, the where's, the how. They already know those questions. They already know the answers. So they can rest peacefully. There's no need to worry. Okay? But here's the thing, though. Once the guilty person is caught, cornered, or they realize they can no longer lie their way out of it, guess what starts to happen? Sometimes their brain surrenders, and that's called a fight over collapse. They have this like a massive adrenaline rush that causes them to try to maintain the lie completely, but then it crashes, plunging them into a state of physical and emotional exhaustion. Okay? And I'm hoping that that's what happens to one of them. I'm hoping that's what happens to somebody who may know something about what actually happened. Because here's the thing. If there were 7 people on that boat and Nolan was absolutely on that boat deceased, as we heard them saying and talking about in that audio, if that's the case, I'm hoping that guilt eats at the heart and mind of at least one of them. So much so that they're forced to come out and tell what actually happened, because that's the only way we're going to get to the truth, because these people are holding on tight to their lies. They're holding on tightly to their lies, in my opinion. Okay, so I'm hoping that they experience what I like to call the fight over collapse, where they just give up. They're going through this massive layer of this chaotic spinning and then mental spinning. Okay, they can't get it out of their system. They're just like, okay, too much truth is coming out. Okay, we're being exposed. If we get caught, we're all going to go down, and I don't want to go down, so I'm just going to start talking. That's what I hope somebody does. And you know, the thing is, somebody would have already done that, in my opinion, had the police brought them in one by one in separate rooms and interrogated them. good cop, bad cop, put it in their mind that if this is true, if y'all did something and it comes out, you're going to be in big trouble. What if they pin it on you and you have to take the fall? You might want to start talking and considering the consequences if anything foul, in fact, did happen. Somebody would have cracked by now. These are young people. They're not that smart, as we can see, because clearly the audio in the back while you're on the phone with a dispatcher, that definitely wasn't smart. It wasn't smart for them to come out and do these interviews. I guess their parents or whoever put them up to it, just in my opinion, pure speculation, likely gave them a whole script to talk to them and gave them plenty of time to get their stories together and tell them what to go on there and say and how to say it. But at the end of the day, they still messed up. That's what usually happens when you have to tell lie after lie after lie after lie. Okay, and you have to try to spin the story in the narrative. You have to try to distance yourself from whatever it is that people think happened. So that was definitely not a smart thing to do, as far as I'm concerned. Now, with that all being said, listen. At the end of the day, I believe that the truth is going to come out eventually. I just hope that when it does, somebody lands behind bars. I hope that when it does, when the truth finally is revealed, that someone lands behind bars. Okay, now with that all being said, Nolan says they sleep to escape anxiety of reality. That's plausible as well. That's plausible as well. But one of the main reasons they can sleep is because they already know what happened. They don't have any questions. People who have concerns and questions lie awake at night wondering, tossing and turning, thinking, playing it over and over in their minds. And I'm going to tell you something that I do think that Trayston was being genuine about. When Trayston said that maybe if he had been there, he could have told Nolan, you know, come on, let's go, or whatever. He was being honest in that moment, because Trayston, I just have to ask myself, does he really think that they did anything to Nolan? I don't think that he does. I think that whatever they have told Trayston is what he believes. And he sees them as good guys. He sees them as real friends. This is my opinion, of course. I think that he absolutely believes whatever story they have told him, and that's why he's trying to defend them, and he's taken this allegiance. I think that he honestly believes that they didn't do anything to Nolan. And this is why he's helping them to paint that narrative, in my opinion. So with that all being said, I absolutely feel that when he said he would have told Nolan to get on the boat, don't stay or whatever, I think he absolutely is being genuine about that. That's the only thing that I think he was being genuine about. Okay, that is the only thing that I think he was being sincere about. Nirvana, beloved, thank you for your super sticker donation. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Okay, now Mel says karma is coming for their arses. Listen, I'm going to conclude this broadcast, beloveds. I will be back later. Make sure you have your notifications on. Please like and share. Okay? And remember, each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. Until next time, peace.
4th of July. Fireworks in the sky. But the truth's still buried underground. Royal Oak. Yeah. They told me, wave the flag while the chains still clank. Told me praise the names on the blood-soaked banks. Told me freedom was born in the room full of men who wrote liberty down while they own human skins. So fuck your founding fathers and the myths they made. I don't pledge to the lie, I don't kneel to the page. You can light up the sky, I remember the smoke from the fields, from the ships, from the necks in the rope. You call it independence, I call it selective. You call it patriotic, I call it protective. Of the story so fragile it cracks when questioned. Truth knocks once and they call it aggression. Yeah. Red for the blood they spill, white for the lies they told, blue for the bruises left on the bodies they sold. Don't ask me to celebrate what never included mine. I came with the receipts, I came to redraw the line. Fuck your founding fathers, I don't owe them praise. They built a nation on our backs, then told us smile through the pain. Fuck your founding fathers, let the fireworks cry. This ain't freedom for the people. If the truth still gotta hide, yeah, no justice, no peace, no lie gets crowned. We don't worship old ghosts when the roots scream loud. Fuck your founding fathers. On the 4th of July, I'm lighting up the truth while they light up the sky. They say, look how far we came. I say, look what it cost. Every courthouse got a shadow, every victory got lost. They gave statues to the takers, made heroes out of thieves, put their faces on the money while the hungry couldn't breathe. Don't lecture me on freedom from a stolen land stage. Don't quote old documents with blood on the page. Don't tell me be grateful for a seat at the table when my people built the room and got treated unstable. You can't buy me through the truth, you can dress it in stars, but the anthem still echoes like chains behind bars. I don't hate the people, I hate the disguise. I hate when the guilty get praised as the wise. Red for the blood they spill, white for the lies they told, blue for the bruises left on the bodies they sold. Don't ask me to celebrate what never included mine. I came with the receipts, I came to redraw the line. Fuck your founding fathers, I don't owe them praise. They built a nation on our backs, then told us smile through the pain. Fuck your founding fathers, let the fireworks cry. This ain't freedom for the people. If the truth still gotta hide, no justice, no peace, no lie gets crowned. We don't worship old ghosts when the roots scream loud. Fuck your founding fathers. On the 4th of July, I'm lighting up the truth while they light up the sky. Don't call it hate when the wound speaks back. Don't call it division when our name was fact. Don't call it progress while the system still bites. Don't call it freedom if we still gotta fight. I'm not here for comfort, I'm not here to pretend. I'm here for the children who deserve better than this. Better than myths, better than chains, better than flags used to cover up pain. So this one's for the ancestors who never got rest, for the names never written but who gave us their best, for the mothers who prayed, for the fathers who ran, for the babies born fighting in the stolen man's plan. This is not disrespect, this is correction. This is not rebellion, this is resurrection. You can keep your parade, I keep speaking the truth. I don't need permission to remember my roots. Royal oak in the soil, truth in the flame. If the crown came with silence, then I don't want the name. But if the crown means standing when the whole world falls, and I'm 10 toes down till the real story's told. Fuck your founding fathers, I don't owe them praise. They built a nation on our backs, then told us smile through the pain. Fuck your founding fathers, let the fireworks cry. This ain't freedom for the people. If the truth still gotta hide, no justice, no peace, no lie gets crowned. We don't worship old ghosts when the roof scream loud. Fuck your founding fathers. On the 4th of July, lighting up the truth while they light up the sky. Fireworks fade, but the truth don't die. Royal oak, 4th of July. Not your midnight, not your light.